What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Corvette Weekly. This is, of course, our Monday Night Live video where we talk about everything and anything Corvette related. So, ownership, modding, all kinds of stuff. And we got a really good one for you tonight. As you can notice below me here, uh, David's not in the house. Brandon is, but David's not here. We've replaced David for the week with Alex. And he's a really interesting guy. He's got something really interesting to talk to us about here in a second. But you guys know how we start these things out. We got to talk about a couple things right off the bat. The biggest one is going to be this guy right here, NCM Insurance. If you guys haven't checked them out yet, go in the link in the description down below, click on that, and in step number 5, make sure you put HPO or horsepower obsessed as how you heard about us. And if you do that, you're going to save the absolute most on your car insurance. And I have heard many people tell me that they have saved upwards of 50%. So 50%, and that is massive for car insurance. So we're not talking about 10 or 15%, we're talking 50%. Check out the link in the description. And of course, down there, you're also going to find the link to the latest C8 Corvette Z06 giveaway. This is going to factor in again here in a second because Alex down below me here has something really cool going on with his Z06. You might be able to see it in the background already. There is two, I like to call them two little helpers hanging out behind the bumper of that C8 Z06. So check out the link in the description down below, guys. You can get extra entries to win a C8 Z06. And after you win it, you might be able to send it to Alex and have those two little helpers installed. So welcome back to the channel, guys. 10 Seconds Z06, Matt Hurley, Larry Anthony. We got a really awesome one tonight. Like I said, Alex runs a performance shop, and he has basically figured out a way to twin turbocharge a Z06. Yeah, Kirk Adams, that's exactly who this is. So, Alex, and yeah, Kevin Horan says David looks different tonight. Hi, Alex. Thank you for coming on the show tonight. I appreciate you giving us the time. What
Absolutely, no problem.
Tell us a little bit about what kind of work you're in. Tell us a little bit about your shop, basically.
Well, Shop's Pikes Performance Tunes, we've been around since 2014. Had some other iterations of shops prior to that. I've been tuning cars since I was 16. So 20 years or so overall, about 10, 11 years professionally, a day in and day out, I'd say. Um, as Pikes Performance Tunes, though, we've always tried and strived to just make the best tuning solutions possible. And whether that be, GM, Ford, Dodge, some imports as well, and a lot of OEM tuning solutions, but also Motec, we're Motec dealers as well. So we do various amounts of things. And recently, when the C8 came out, the Stingray, we kind of used that as a springboard to get into manufacturing parts. And that first part we really started hammering home was the twin turbo kit for the Stingray. In addition to that, we came out with some other suspension components, front lower control arms, coilovers, now electronics components, our Delta control module, clutch pressure controller, all kinds of different things, basically to make your C8 as fast as possible and to work as well as possible. So now we're diving deep into the parts manufacturing side of things now too. And so also that stemmed, us being able to help work with other shops, B2B stuff or business to business, if you will, and which we love doing that. We love working with other shops and, developing our packages, and shops will buy a package from us and we'll help them tune it. And, so it just kind of takes the guesswork out of it. And so that's really the core of our business is, the B2B, the manufacturing, and also tuning, engine transmission tuning. That's really the main thing. But we also install our packages that we make as well.
All right. So, before we get too much into it, hanging with Shane's in the house here, guys. So he's going to tell on you if you're not hitting that thumbs up. At the end of the day, what we want to do, of course, we want to hit 100 thumbs ups by 8 o'clock, and we want to hit 200 by 8:30. If we hit 200 thumbs ups by 8:30, Alex is going to cold start that C8 Z06 with the twin turbo kit on it. Now, this is not your twin turbo kit that we've seen Amelia Hartford install, okay? Hers ran basically zero boost with wastegates wide open. This thing is running some serious boost. Well, not serious, but it's more than 0 PSI. Alex, tell us a little bit about the kit that you've made for the C8 Z06.
Absolutely. So currently, to answer your question, we're making about 7 pounds of boost with this kit. We are also using direct port methanol injection and our boost controller, which allows us to adjust boost by gear, and also it adjusts the methanol based off RPM and boost. So those two things combined are what's assisting us with being able to tune it. But also we have dual heat exchangers in the front, different than our typical kit we offer for the Stingray. So the dual heat exchangers are substantially better at cooling everything because we want to have as much cooling as possible for this higher compression, typically naturally aspirated engine that now we've added forced induction to. So cooling was our primary objective with that, and also the methanol assist with that as well, of course. Other than that, we have 2 scavenge pumps. We have plug-and-play electronics that come with it. Also a catch can system that we had to come up with, work with Mighty Mouse on that to come up with the catch can system for it. So really, in all of our kits, we try to take as comprehensive of an approach as possible and offer a comprehensive package that's going to be available. And everything in that kit is exactly what you need for the car to run as well as it absolutely can. And in this kit also, we manufacture everything in-house. We TIG weld, we back purge everything that we do that's stainless. You don't back purge aluminum, but and also the intercooler is a huge core. We make that in-house as well. It's precision 6266 turbos, precision blow-off valves, and precision 46 millimeter wastegates as well. So that's the primary components of the kit.
Okay. So we were talking a little bit behind the scenes, and for those of you who don't know, I have been pretty vocal about the fact that, turbocharging or supercharging a high compression engine like the 5.5 flat plane crank in the C8 Z06 isn't a good idea. And I still stand behind that to some degree, but Alex has a lot of things behind the scenes that are working to make sure that it is a good idea. So tell me, Alex, what have you done that nobody else really has yet to make sure that this engine stays, within the blow up range, we'll say? What have you done differently?
Well, primarily, the big difference between the Z06 and the Stingray, when it comes to trying to develop an inline tuning solution like we have with the Delta Control Module in the Stingray, the big difference we had here with the mass airflow is different. It has a different communications network or a different protocol or a different language, if you will, that's being spoken on that mass airflow. So a Stingray is a 4-wire map. The Z06 is a 3-wire map. So everything is transmitted on one wire. You don't have a physical mass airflow signal that you can tap into and modify like before. So it's encrypted. So we had to de-encrypt that. We had to decode that. And then we modify those values that we're sending to the ECM by way of our Delta Control Module and our software that we use. So that's really the main difference. So us being able to adjust the mass airflow signal that's being reported to the ECM allows us to change how much airflow the ECM sees. So therefore, we can correct fueling at idle and part throttle. Whereas basically anybody else, if you don't have that DCM capability or the ability to adjust the map, you could go wide up a throttle. You could add fuel on top of everything else, but you're not fixing the idle, the part throttle, the decel, the drivability components. So that's really, the big difference is we've decoded that signal. But other than that, obviously at wide up a throttle, if you reported the maximum amount of airflow, the actual airflow that ECM seen, you're going to hit torque limiters. And so our ability to adjust the map allows us to keep us under the torque limits, right? And then we can use methanol. We can use our other controller to essentially control the amount of boost so it doesn't overboost and makes the right amount of boost when it's supposed to make it, and supplements with methanol. Or we could use port injection as opposed to methanol if somebody didn't want methanol. And so that's what basically keeps things happy. It is a high compression engine, and that's why we're not going to 10, 11 pounds of boost with our current setup. We are limited by the compression. However, high compression is one thing, that's static, but you have dynamic compression too. So it really depends on how the camshafts are being rotated essentially, and how they're changing the camshaft profile throughout the RPM range. Because as you change your cam profile, you can change your dynamic compression. So effectively, you could have 9.5 to 1 compression ratio if you change the cam profile appropriately. So there's some other aspects of that as well, but we don't have the ability to adjust the cam profile. So we are working with what we have. And now, if we were to go take this engine, put some different pistons and rods in it, I could make 1,000 wheel horsepower with this car, because we're not limited by the clutches. We have clutches. We can put clutches in it. That's not a problem. But this has stock clutches, by the way. So really, it's just a matter of changing the pistons and rods, going to lower static compression, and then we can do pretty much whatever we want other than putting camshafts in it and changing firing order or going E85 at idle and part throttle. You couldn't do those things right now.
Okay, so before I start asking questions in the comment section, because guys, I am going to get to you. So keep asking questions. I'm going to get to those in a second. I want to ask the big burning question. You now have a turbocharged Z06, so you have a pretty good idea of what this thing sounds like. Have you seen the latest leak from GM about the C8 ZR1 coming?
I've seen some bits and pieces of it. I've seen pictures of the integrated turbo with the manifold and some of those other things. Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on whether or not that's going to be a flat plane crank engine?
I mean, personally, I can't see GM putting this amount of time and effort and money and just research and development into developing this 5.5 liter platform and not implement that into the ZR1. I mean, it just wouldn't
make. I've heard that a lot lately. So you're thinking it's going to be a flat plane?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't make it. Now, granted, there's a lot of debate out there about flat plane versus cross plane and what's better overall. Well, they all have their ups and downs, their pluses and minuses. However, a flat plane crank engine, that crankshaft is a sequential firing on the exhaust. So that actually spools the turbo better, right? And they found that way back in the day. It's just, the thing is, now it's kind of become more of a commonplace. The GT350 used it, obviously, and that worked fairly well, but there were some issues and people were kind of iffy about it, right? Whereas I feel like, GM did a lot of homework. I mean, I've talked to some people at GM and they said we've been through a lot of testing, a lot of testing. Obviously, they're not going to get into the specifics, but I mean, I really feel like they did their homework here.
Yeah. Okay. So let me start touching on some comments we're getting in the comment section, guys. In the meantime, like I said, smash the thumbs up button because if we hit 200 by 8:30, we're going to get a cold start of this monster behind Alex here. So first question comes in from Ken, Squirrel Cage Garage, which we're actually going to have him on the live video one of these days as well. But these kind of things pop up, so Ken will be on here eventually. But he says, "Hey Justin, hey Alex, it's Ken. Great work as always. Are you handling tuning with the Delta control module for this? And what kind of turbos are they size-wise?"
Yes, we are using the Delta control module. It's a different variant from what we used on the Stingray. But as I said, with the MAF adjustments we had to make there. Also, the turbos are Precision 6266. They're ball bearing V-band on the inlet to the turbine and the outlet of the turbine. So very high quality turbos. They work really well. I had a lot of great luck with them. And now they've got the next gen 6266s in mirror image. So these are mirror images as well. So that's also something to add there.
Nice. Okay, so just going through the comment section here. Matthew Branson, I appreciate you getting on here. Definitely excited for the ZR1 as well. We're going to be seeing some information on that here in less than a month, so that's cool. Definitely pumped for it. Good evening, guys, says Herbert Mumford. DBM Racing is obviously in the chat. He's just not on the channel here because he's out there saving lives. So let's see. That's beautiful. There's that beautiful man, Brandon. He says, I'm starting to think that David has a crush on you, Brandon. He says, "Does my thumbs up?"
We like joking with each other.
Does my thumbs up count for more than one, David? It absolutely does. Let's see. Supercharged E-Ray. This is a good question. Does launch control still work in all modes? Automatic shifts, not manual, runs through the gears. Transmission is the biggest concern with all C8 builds from a tuning perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. The launch control does work quite well. I'm still dialing a few things in, like using the launch and trying to figure out what RPM to launch at that works the best. We built about 2 pounds of boost on the launch because I know that's probably going to be another question or a follow-on question to that, because I have looked at that. I actually had the best luck just foot braking a little bit and launching, honestly, right now. But I'm still dialing some stuff in with just playing around with that, try to figure out what works best for the car. As far as the shifting, I've had great luck with shifting. We are using our clutch pressure controller with stock clutches. And also, it's important to note that the TCM calibration is different for the Z06 versus the Stingray. And you can actually tell because I've gotten out of it during the launch because I was just testing some things. And you can feel the amount of line pressure that's being applied while in launch mode or in some of those other modes versus what you would feel in the Stingray. So I can already tell just by the feeling and also logging different things with GM software that there is more line pressure being applied on the Z06 versus the Stingray. And that coupled with our clutch controller, never had an issue with the transmission not shifting in this car. And the whole time I've been doing R&D with it.
Alex, how hard is that clutch pressure controller to install? Because I feel like there's a lot of like other applications that you could use that for. Obviously, not just the turbo kit itself, but anything adding extra power. Is that a pretty easy installation for the clutch line pressure controller?
So we can't get the plug and play connectors. There's no plug and play connectors that exist for the actual transmission, the plug that goes into the side of the transmission. So you have to depin that and pin it into our module because we don't want to cut the wires, of course. We want everything to be reversible. So you do have to depin it. That's the most, I guess, complex part of it. Other than that, it's pretty simple to install. And it's all plug and play with the accelerator pedal connector that we tap into. So we have accelerator pedal input in addition to the clutch pressure input. So those two things are what we use to determine when to apply that scale.
And when do you, how does it control the pressure? So is it electronically through like HP tuners? How do you control, say you wanted to add pressure, the clutch pressure controller, are you able to customize that per gear? Or is it something where it's going to be certain pressure every gear when it's shifting? Is that how it works? It's just a set pressure per gear?
Yeah, so we have our own software that we use to actually adjust the settings in the clutch pressure controller. So there's a USB cord that comes off the clutch controller, and we run that USB cord into the glove box. And so you just tuck it away when you're not using it, and you pull it out. You hook up to our software, and then you can adjust the percentage of scale that you want. You can also adjust the on limit or the threshold of clutch pressure, and that's measured in AD counts because analog to digital conversion. But basically, X amount of AD counts equals maximum line pressure. Y amount of AD counts equals 0 line pressure. And so you just adjust where you want to start the scale. You don't want to go too low, or else the TCM is going to say, hey, we've got too low of pressure at too low of load. What's going on here? And it's going to throw a code. So there's adjustability there as to when you want to bring in the clutch controller. And in addition to that, we added the accelerator pedal input. So because sometimes you would see additional load where you're seeing additional clutch pressure, but you're not full throttle. And so that would make the TCM say, hey, there's something going on here. So we added the accelerator pedal input. That way it only applies when you're at wide open throttle. And so you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. However, as far as per gear, we do not have an adjustment per gear. We haven't really seen a need for it, honestly. We're trying to keep it as simple as possible, but we could always add that if we really wanted to.
Oh, that's interesting. Do you think there's a benefit to naturally aspirated applications that have like mild bolt-ons? Because I'm noticing a slippage in third, especially third to fourth shift after multiple drag strip runs. And so I'm curious if that is something you think would be a benefit for us guys that are to have mild mods right now. If installing that may help our DCT as far as the shifting, as far as running like 1/8 mile and 1/4 mile runs.
Yeah, so actually I've had a few customers with NA builds install that. Carlos down in Florida, he's got that white C8 Stingray. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but a pretty cool guy. He put that clutch controller on his car, and it did help him from as far as what he told us and the feedback we received there. A few other customers with heads cam packages are running the clutch controller as well. There's a lot of variance from year to year as far as things or problems that people run into in terms of, when you start modifying the car, the very common code we see is the P1960 or 1961, which is like a clutch safety performance or a torque out of calculation threshold, essentially. So you can get that 1960 code. If your clutches are actually slipping, you could get that code. If the torque calculation is wrong, you could also get that code. So it really depends on the situation. And so now with HP tuners coming out, you can make a lot of things better because you adjust the torque model from the ECM side. And so the TCM sees, oh, we're making more torque or more load, so we need to apply more pressure. So you can actually affect the transmission quite substantially by making proper adjustments on the engine control module side.
Okay, so
Nice.
Matt Hurley has a question here. He says, has the twin turbo Z06 had any kind of 1/4 mile testing yet?
No, I'm currently doing some draggy stuff right now and trying to get some more information for guys because I know they're going to ask that.
Yeah.
I haven't taken it to a drag strip. They closed down Houston Raceway Park, or Royal Purple as some may call it, or know it from before. So I'd like to get out the Pine Valley. They're about 2 hours or so away from us. I haven't had a chance to take it out there. Also, I may not take this one out there just because we want to get it back to the customer as well. So it depends on how we'll get with that. But I am going to get draggy data from it.
So guys, another thing, a big reason why we want to give Alex a big thumbs up here is he's kind of right in the direct path of the hurricane going through that area right now. He's in Texas, so he's here with limited power apparently.
No power. Yeah.
No power. Okay, so
again, this is a light that I have with batteries. So.
Oh wow. Okay, so we don't want to run that one out, but. Yeah, so guys, he's here against all odds, basically. So give him a big thumbs up. This kit sounds like it is checking all the right boxes. The other question that I know is going to come up big time in the comment section here is the question as to whether or not this kit has a warranty. Alex and I talked a little bit about this before we went live, but I'll let him answer it. Does the kit have a warranty, Alex?
Yes. So depending on how you order it, if you have us install it, we offer, that's basically part of the kit, a 4-year, 75,000 mile, essentially bumper to bumper warranty. We work with some other underwriting companies and we work with us to underwrite everything for the modifications. So we're approved dealer through them. And so, yeah, so it's actually really great because it's a better coverage than what you get from GM. And you can, like, so let's say you get the car, you ship it back to wherever you may be, and we, done the work and shipped it back to you. If you have a problem, you can take it to local. Say you got a problem, your radio has a problem. You take it to a local dealership, and you pay $100 deductible, and then the company pays the rest. We pay the rest through our company.
That is possibly, I think that's the best warranty I've heard on an aftermarket kit. Usually they're somewhere around 36,000, and those are good. Those are the good warranties. So 75,000 is crazy. And that just tells me that you are very certain about this kit because, I mean, no one's going to pick that up knowing that they're going to be paying out on every single one of these cars that gets done. So this sounds like a great thing so far, guys. Squirrel Cage Garage says, are you worried about primary and secondary balancing issues at all adding forced induction to an already high compression engine?
No, I mean, the balancing shouldn't really be affected by this. Really the biggest concern that we had was the higher compression, right? As you guys all know. Now we kind of touched on this a little bit, but it's higher static compression, but we really don't know what the dynamic compression is unless we have the cam angles and we know the valve events or the cam is being advanced or retarded in whatever scenario, right? So there's some other variables there that we're not aware of, but obviously I've tuned with those things in play. And so we've baked that into our end results here. So not really worried about the balancing of anything. The higher compression is why I didn't go above 7 pounds of boost. Now, some people said, well, you could make more power. I could, but honestly, I like to be as conservative as possible initially, at least. Yep, absolutely.
Now, the Corvette guy says, and I'm pretty sure the answer to this is both. He says, are you using meth for cooling or fueling?
The answer is both. Now, if you wanted, like I mentioned, we could do port injection in lieu of methanol and use race gas with that port injection, or use E85 for that port injection portion of it as well if you didn't want to use methanol. However, if methanol is properly installed and we direct port, so we have one nozzle per runner, and if it's properly installed and it's maintained correctly, it's just the same difference as you could have a fuel pump fail, just the same as you could have a meth pump fail, right? So you got to just properly wire it, and it's great because a guy can run around on pump gas, and then if you don't go full throttle, it doesn't use the methanol at all. It only uses the methanol when you're full throttle after 2 pounds of boost, and so on. So,
all right.
If the meth pump fails, what happens, Alex? If that meth pump actually fails, will it know when that happens, as far as for hit spark knock or something, and then it'll back off, or what will happen if the meth pump fails?
So actually, it's a great question. And I inadvertently did not know the meth was not pumping for probably 5 to 10 pulls or more throughout the process of doing the R&D, because there was something that we missed when we initially wired it, if I'm being honest. And so we found that problem, we fixed it, and then I was like, wow, here's the power. It's basically what happens is the car doesn't make as much power. I didn't see any knock in the data when all that was happening, so nothing really indicated to me there was a problem, other than the fact that the ECM said, hey, we need more fuel. And so the fuel trims, because these things are in closed loop all the time, the fuel trims came in and added fuel to compensate for the fact that it was leaner because we had boost.
That's fantastic. So you didn't even see knock whenever that was happening?
No, so like you could tell, because basically the car commands 30 degrees of timing, more or less, depending on intake air temperatures at wide open throttle. And so when that was happening, when the methanol wasn't spraying, I still saw 29 to 31 degrees of timing.
Wow.
And so nothing. And then what I did beyond that, just to be safe, what I've been doing, I'll make adjustments with Delta Control Module, and I'll log with all of my software, HP Tuners with the DCM, and then I'll do another pull and log with GM software, GDS. If you guys at home are familiar with that, it's basically the same software that the dealership uses. And I'll log with GDS. I'll log knock. I'll log misfire per cylinder. I'll log other parameters that I cannot log with HP Tuners or Delta Control Module. And I'm not seeing any knock in any of those factors as well.
That's fantastic.
Alex, are you able to actually change the timing itself, or just fueling with the Delta Control Module? Or you actually to retard the timing itself?
Yeah, that's another great question. And yes, so what we do is we go in line to the intake air temperature signal, and so that allows us to adjust how much timing it commands using the factory I18 modifier.
Okay, so but there's probably a max, I guess, if you're using that as far as how much you can retard, I would assume, because you can only put so high of a temperature and it's only going to take so much timing out. So there's probably like a max of what, like 6-8 degrees or something?
Yeah, somewhere around there. We do use ignition control module as well. In addition to that, just for extra safety, I've been using that in addition, just for the R&D purposes, just to make sure that we actually could, because we are going in line to the coils as well, as an extra level of protection. But honestly, I might just implement that into the kit, because why not have that in addition? But we do adjust the timing with our Delta Control Module as well.
I do want to mention one thing real quick. I talked with Alex via email, just for you guys in the comments. He can do so much stuff with this Delta Control Module and the clutch pressure controller. There's so many uses that we could all use this, even if it's not with this turbo setup.
Right.
And we talked about like nitrous and things like that. You and I talked via email. The fact that you can control timing and those kind of things allows the ability to, and especially with the pressure controller, to introduce things like nitrous and those other things, other pathways of making more power, and do that like safely using the stock PCM and TCM. And that to me is like a huge thing, like, because, you know, as of right now, we can't do anything without being the ability to do that. So the fact that you can is phenomenal. I think that's just, it's big leap.
Yeah, I would say that's a great point, because with nitrous, you can, if you don't want to tune the car with HP tuners or whatever, if you don't want to touch the factory ECM, you can use the Delta Control Module, go in line, and do what you want to do. And let's say you want to sell the car, put it all back to stock.
Yeah, there's no record. Yep.
Yeah.
So Bill Miller has one of the best questions possibly of the night. He says, "Sounds like we need to get down to the nitty gritty. What are the dyno numbers?"
Okay, so that's a great question. I have a Mustang dyno. So my Mustang dyno reads about 13% lower than a dyno jet does, or, you know, insert whatever other dyno that reads higher than mine, right? So a factory, just to give you some, what's the word I'm looking for? Some point of reference, a C7 Z06 on my dyno makes about 500 to 510 wheel horsepower.
Oh, wow, that is low.
A factory, and that, it was my C7, and I backed it up with other C7 Z06s after that. A factory C8 Z06 on my dyno makes anywhere from 515 to 530 wheel horsepower stock, right? So just so you have a point of reference, with this kit currently, the highest number I have seen to the tires is about 664 wheel horsepower.
So roughly 150 more horsepower.
Yes, sir.
So again, this kit sounds like it's putting it pretty freaking close to in line with the new ZR1 coming then.
Yeah, so it's about 800 at the crank if you calculated it back, because we're usually seeing about 20% or so differential. So yeah, so it's right 800 at the crank. So it's, you know.
Okay,
So you
so
Like I
think
said,
it's 730, 740 on a Dynojet, probably roughly, give or
yeah,
take, 730, then
yeah,
around that range, somewhere in there.
once you get above 650 to 700 wheel on a Mustang dyno, it's usually about 100 horsepower difference. Until you start getting to
Okay.
the higher numbers, because that
yeah.
13% will make you a car on my Mustang dyno make it 870 wheel is right at 1,000 wheel on a dyno jet.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
Squirrel Cage. I think I know the answer to this, but you probably do not have CO2 in the top of the wastegates, keeping them closed, right?
No, we're using a boost controller and just with the wastegate, and we're using a boost control solenoid.
Yeah,
Three
because
port.
you're not really running enough boost that you would need something like that. But
Yeah, no, like I mean, if you wanted to limit the boost on launch to like 2 pounds or so in first gear, second gear, you could do that. But with us, we're just limiting it down to spring pressure on the wastegates if we wanted to. So it's a 6 pound spring in the gates on this particular setup. So in first gear, we could go down to 6 psi, but we couldn't go any lower than that. Now, if you had CO2, you could go to 2 pounds if you wanted, because you could really
gotcha.
like gate in it.
All right, guys.
And it,
So with Alex here, like I said, if we hit the 200 thumbs up mark by 8:30, actually it'll be closer to 8:40 because that'll be our hour. He's going to cold start the twin turbocharged C8 Z06 behind him. So guys, smash the thumbs up button. We have 200 people in here watching. We should have easily 200 likes. Let's do this.
and guys in the comments too, I do want to say he has kits that you can do at the house too, right? Is that correct,
Yeah.
Alex? You can do self-installs at a reduced cost. It doesn't have the warranty, but you can do that if somebody wanted to do it themselves and save some money. That is an option for your kits, correct?
Yes, it is.
And that is, well, have you figured out pricing? Like, is that set in stone or is that still something you're working on?
Yeah, so basically, for an installed and tuned package, as we'll put it, including the warranty, is about 47,000 out the door. I am offering some first adopter discounts, as I'll put it. So for the first 5 kits I'm selling, I'm doing some first adopter discounts. So basically, if the way I was originally doing it is I was offering $5,000 off that 47K installed and tuned. Now, I hadn't considered the mail out option at that point yet, because I was kind of trying to do the first few in house just to have more hands on or eyes on with it. But if somebody, that I talked to, that we vetted, that I think I'm comfortable with them installing it, then, that'd be a different story. So 47K, but first adopter gets 5K off. Now, I wasn't originally including the warranty, but for those guys that are first adopters and that they want that warranty, then basically it'd be an additional 3,000, and then we get the warranty included. So it'll still be about $2,000 or $3,000 off what the retail is for the first adopters, but that would include the warranty as well. Now, mail out is about 37.9
So
retail.
Robert Brunn says he said that he'd be concerned about the long-term reliability of the engine, but maybe he just joined the kit. If you have it installed by Alex, has quite a fantastic warranty. And what was it? 4 years?
4 years, 75,000 mile, essentially bumper to bumper.
75,000. That's better than GM's. Like literally, it's only got $100 deductible, so it's not like you're paying a crazy deductible either. I would
And
say
also, a long
normally
block is
I would agree, Robert. I would be concerned about that too. But with the warranty, I kind of feel like it throws that out the window because no warranty company is going to gladly cover this, knowing that it's blowing up engines left and right. So obviously, this is going to end up being a good kit because this warranty company ultimately they don't want to pay out. So, yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead,
Also,
Trent.
I
and the
want to
people that do
mention,
it.
sorry.
I'm sorry. The people that do it themselves also, if you were buy a long block, it's 27,000 or so of what I found list price. So it's like if you're doing it yourself, that's a motor replacement. That's not that far off of what you
Right.
would think for what this motor makes. I don't think that's a bad price for what we get with this engine.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to mention that whether it's mail out or in-house installed and tuned, we do offer on our craftsmanship of the actual kit, the components that we make, like the X pipe and the wastegate dumps that go to the side, and all those components like the cold side, the hot side, everything that we weld and put together, here and bend and touch, that's lifetime warranty. And whether, you take it to the next guy or you sell it, it's transferable is what I'm trying to say with that. Now, as far as the actual turbo components themselves, if it wasn't, if you didn't get the 4 year 75,000 mile bumper to bumper, let's say it was a mail out, we defer to the factory manufacturer warranty on the turbos themselves or the blow off valves, the wastegates, or the pumps as well, the scavenge pumps.
Okay. So, Darren Burnett had a good question. He said, once you go beyond 7 psi, is there any concerns with the composite plenum or basically the plastic intake?
We've actually had really good luck with the plastic intakes on the Stingrays. We've made as much as 18, 19 pounds of boost with those intakes and had no problems. And just in general, usually you get about 20 pounds of boost and you're like, okay, maybe we need to do something different here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about the max I'd say of what I'd be comfortable with pushing that intake to. But if currently, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's been a problem.
And
All right.
Alex,
So,
I've messed a lot with this stock plenum, and it seems to be a thicker composite even than
yeah.
the regular Stingray. So I feel like even just stock for stock from plenum to plenum, the LT5 plenum seems to be a more solid piece, at least weight wise. So I feel like even that plenum, if you're getting that kind of look out of the LT2 plenum, is even stronger. And I mean, I don't know because I'm not in your realm, but it sounds in theory could take even more boost than the LT2 just being a thicker composite. At least it seems to be.
Yeah, and it's great to have a composite plenum anyways because you keep the temps down under the
Yeah.
hood.
Yeah.
Like it's just substantially better in some regards. Obviously, you try to make 30, 40 pounds of boost, you're gonna need something, But yeah,
Supercharged D-Ray says, like the Stingray, are the pistons a weak point in the Z06 when boosting or not running enough boost to be a concern?
So these pistons and rods are made by Perillo. They are forged pistons and rods. They are obviously higher compression. They're optimized for naturally aspirated operations. So it's going to be lighter weight components, making them as light as they can to rev as high as possible. So there are some considerations you got to take into account there in terms of them being optimal for NA. But they are forged components, so they are a better material than what you're going to get in an LT2 piston. The LT2 piston is the same as the LT1 piston. It's exactly the same. And that piston is known to not be very strong. It cracks. But these pistons are a better material in general. Now, like I said, once we switch out, put different lower compression piston rod combinations in there, then we can start packing some boost into it.
All right. So another good question. Manny Soto says, what is the turnaround time?
Great question. So our typical procurement and fabrication time right now, I say is about 12 to 14 weeks to get all the components together, to fab it all up, to get everything ready to go. And then at that point, we either ship it out to you or, we're going to start to schedule your car to come in. And as far as the install, for the first few, I'm probably going to take my time a little more than I usually, would on a more production based product that's been around for 3 or 4 years. So I'd say the install time, I'd like to have it for at least, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, give or take. And most people are okay with that. And the fact that I'm just trying to, do a lot of quality control and test and check, nut and bolt it, as we like to say, put it back on the rack, check it again, and then get it ready.
Okay. So obviously
Alex,
with the car sitting behind you, the turbos are being mounted down low. It looks like they're not being mounted up near the headers. Like theoretically, the ZR1 probably will have the turbos up higher in the engine. Is
Yep,
that right?
that's correct. And
So
one of the benefits of,
does it
go ahead.
does this obviously modify the stock exhaust? Then is the exhaust totally different, or is it something fabbed up by you? Or
Yeah, so basically what we do is we have up pipes, as we call them, and those bolt to the factory cats. And so the benefit
okay,
of that is you don't want to touch the factory cats because we want to try to get this emissions legal as well.
right,
I'm not that it's not already technically, but in some ways, as far as EPAs would maybe be concerned, et cetera, et cetera. But if you want to go do carb testing and things like that, the minute you touch that factory cat or you move it, you put a different cat, you change the exhaust manifolds, that's when you start getting the problems. So
yeah,
we always like to maintain the factory manifolds, factory cats. We bolt to the back of that. Now, some people may be concerned, well, what if the cat blows up? Well, I really haven't had that problem. And when I did have that problem, the cat was just the problem. It didn't affect the turbo. It didn't hurt the turbo at all. I mean, so really, I'm not super concerned about that. But that's why we do that. And also, the lower center of gravity is nice. You don't want to
yeah,
add more weight on top
right.
above the center of gravity. So there's other various reasons why we do that. But yeah, so they do mount. We actually the turbos themselves are mounted to the transmission mounts, so it rocks with the transmission. So we don't have problems with cracking and so on and
Nice.
so forth. Not that we would crack anyways, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So, guys, we're at 164 thumbs ups. We got almost 200 people in here watching. We should be able to hit the 200. I really want to hear this thing cold start. So, smash the thumbs
me too.
ups and here
Thumbs up, guys.
we're going to hear the C8 Z06 with twin turbos, something that I would have never guessed possible, at least not with a warranty, and we're getting both of them tonight. So let's hear this thing cold start, guys. Smash the thumbs up. There's a bunch of people in here that haven't hit it yet, so let's do it. Alex is taking time out of his day, out of his hurricane stained day, to be here with us. So
We were
yeah,
right in the eye of it. Like it hit us right dead on. I think I had
yeah,
85 mile per hour or maybe 100 mile per hour winds in the shop today. It
that's
was pretty
crazy.
wild.
That's crazy. Yeah, guys, I don't know. If I was
Can
just
you?
hit with a hurricane, I would not be on here. So the fact that he wanted to come on tonight, he's excited about this kit. So am I. I mean, this is literally a C8 ZR1 at this point sitting behind him, because if the ZR1 comes out and it is in fact flat plane crank, it's probably not going to be that much different than what he's got sitting behind him at this point. So yeah, what other questions
Alex,
do you
can you
guys
drive that
have?
in the rain? Is it able to
What's
drive
that?
in the rain with the intake, with basically the intake spin at the bottom of the bumper? Are they okay in the rain? Is there like a some sort of
What?
modified filter or anything?
100% okay in the rain. I actually just posted a video on my my YouTube of me doing an autocross in the rain yesterday in
Oh, I
our
saw
shop
that.
C8 Stingray. So
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
did see
no,
that.
yeah. So I've driven through torrential downpours in the Stingrays with the filters right there. Now you can buy the filter socks from K&N that slide over there. It's like kind of a, I don't know if it's neoprene or what the material actually is, but that's also, if you're concerned about that, that's helpful. I mean, obviously you're gonna get them a little dirtier than what you would if they're in the engine bay, right? So you got to change them
Yeah,
out more often. But otherwise, no. I mean, would you want to drive through a 2 foot deep puddle? Probably not. But as you use your sense about you, I haven't had any problems at all. Nor have I had. I think we put on almost 50 kits throughout over the last 4 or so years, and I haven't had not had one person say anything about it to me.
that's
Will,
awesome.
since we were talking about emissions a second ago, I'm sure you haven't tested this yet, but Robert Braun wants to know if it will meet California emissions.
So the thing about California is you got to have a CARB EO number. Now, as far as EPA, I actually have a $50,000 emissions bench here in my shop that I use, that I can run the FTP 75, the US06, SC03. I know I'm getting pretty specific here, but just to give you an idea, it's a very high priority on my list. So I conduct testing prior to and after the installs, and so that allows us to try to maintain as much emissions compliance as possible and do things in conjunction with what the EPA would want you to do. Now, in addition to, like with CARB, that's another layer on top of the EPA. And so to be California emissions compliant completely, you would have to have a CARB EO number. And so to do that, we have to do some testing on the EVAP side, the evaporative emissions side. So because we're changing out the factory air box, we don't have a hydrocarbon trap in the air box. So we add a hydrocarbon trap in the intake, excuse me, in the intercooler. And so we need to do some testing like that, and so on and so forth, which is something that's on our list of things to do. We've had bigger fish to fry.
Sure.
We want to make sure the car is emissions compliant in all ways that we can. And the diagnostic monitors are going to bing, bing, bing. They're going to pop. They're going to pop as complete as you drive the vehicle. So the other thing, yeah, that's pretty much the biggest things with that. So,
I know we talked a little bit about horsepower numbers, but do you have torque numbers?
yeah, so it's about I remember the gain. It was right at 100, 105 pound-feet of torque gain, as what we saw for a gain. And I think stock was, let's say, 470 or something like that. I have to go back and look at the graph. I did send you, I think, a picture of the graph too.
Oh, okay. Let me take a look, because
Yeah,
I just had it pulled up here.
yeah, you should have a picture in there that shows the before and after from the Mustang Dyno.
Do you have any guess on what their 60 to 30 will be? Any guesses? You thinking it'll be mid sixes or somewhere in that range, high
Yeah, I would
sixes? Where are you thinking?
say so. I mean, typically, like cars making 650 wheel or so on my dyno end up somewhere around, the mid sixes or so. So
Okay.
I'd have to say it's got to be somewhere in there. I mean, to be honest with you, I had never used that metric, the 60 to 130, before, and it's become very popular in the last few years.
Yeah.
And so I just bought my draggy like a week ago.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to use it and play with it and figure out how to make it work and make it optimal, make some better content. So I will be coming out with stuff like that as well. So that's what I'm doing right now with the car, just kind of trying to get 60 to 130 data and get some other things like that going with it currently.
So I don't have the dyno sheet from you, Alex, but I do have some pictures of the car up with the bumper off, and Brandon had asked about driving it in the rain because of the turbos there, and there are actually air filters on both ends of the turbo, Brandon, that you can't really see in the image behind him, but there are pretty large air filters there that would kind of be, you know, somewhat of a deterrent for water to get in there.
Yeah, so you can add covers on top of those filters on as
Right.
well.
Yeah, like the nylon
Yep.
socks. This looks, I mean, so ideally when you're installing this, you said there's 2 or 3 extra heat exchangers up front.
Yes. So that's yes. So there's two big heat exchangers in the front. I think I sent you some pictures of those as
You
well.
did, yeah.
They go in front of the factory coolers up front. So we stack those in front, and those are actually a Denso core. So that core is very breathable. It allows the maximum amount of airflow across it, so you still get proper cooling on all your other components, like engine coolant temperature, transmission temperature, so on and so forth. So we've got really good luck with these heat exchangers, but we also have about 5 gallons of capacity between the reservoir that we mount in the tunnel of the vehicle and the expansion tank that we mount in the front. And the coolest thing about these reservoirs is it takes up no trunk space and no frunk space. Now, in the front, we do have the methanol tank, just as pictured right there. We do a cover over that. So that takes up about 10 vertical inches in the front. And then we have the carpeted cover we put over that. And then you would just add the methanol in there when need be.
I love the idea that the majority of this kit is installed in the center tunnel. I think that's a great use of space. That's really cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
So, um,
that's genius.
yeah, I mean, what I'm seeing here. So you said that those radiators were Denso. You're just modifying them to fit your needs.
Yes, we literally buy a radiator, a Denso radiator for I think a Toyota truck or whatever, and then
Yeah.
we cut them in half, and then we add on we cut out the end plates here, and then we weld everything together, and we pressure and fluid test them, water leak test them, and then that's how we do it. So we got a plasma table in house, you know, that we use for that.
Is
And
there an
you're
easy
you're
way?
still
Is there an easy way to drain these to where we could use like ice water and stuff? Like if you're in a track situation,
Yeah,
as far
there's
as
a
the air to
drain.
water intercooler.
Yeah, I saw the
Yep,
picture
yep.
of the drain. So, let me try to pull that back up here real quick, because that's right there, right in the center tunnel, that drain.
Yeah, there's a drain you can use there, but there's also the expansion tank has a drain on it as well as a vent. So yes, if you add ice, you could drain it.
Nice.
Okay, nice. Okay.
Um,
Do you think there'd be much of a
this
benefit for that? I mean, honestly, as far as if you're in a track situation for whatever reason.
For drag racing, I mean, if you're trying to go for maximum effort, yeah, I mean, I think it would be worth it if you're like right there or mile racing. That would be something that it would be useful. Now, if you're just a average dude going to the track, having some fun at the drag strip, I don't think it's you're not going to see much of a gain from that, right? Especially if you're driving the
Okay.
car there, driving it back, whatnot. But now for road racing, that might be a different story. It wouldn't be needed because the ice is going to melt on your out lap, and not even before you get in grid, the ice is going to melt. So, but yeah, so it's still might be helpful.
so
Nice.
roughly, since I don't know if you would have this exact number or not. What are your thoughts on how much weight this kit would add?
I think it adds about. I think I've weighed it before. I want to say it's like maybe 75 to 100 pounds as far as how much all the components weigh.
Yeah.
And so, however, though, the factory exhaust is quite heavy.
Right.
The other components are quite heavy. So it's not, adding that
Right.
much.
Yeah.
Whatever the difference there is, I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
So you're thinking like 50 pounds? I mean, the stock is also what, like 60 pounds, something like that?
It's pretty
So,
heavy. If you've
Yeah.
ever
It's
yeah,
very,
figured
very
it off,
heavy. Yeah.
yeah.
And you're using this kit
that's not bad.
uses two sets of two blow off valves, which is interesting.
Yep, 2 blow-off valves, 2 wastegates.
What kind
So
of
we've got the charge pipes. I didn't give you a picture of it. The charge pipes. Well, you could see if you've got the intercooler pictures in there too.
Yeah.
But where we're developing the intercooler at that point, the charge pipes go up to the intercooler from the turbos, and the blow-off valves are right here on this way up into the intercooler.
Oh, they're in the front.
Just
Yeah, so you can hear them pretty good. Like if you go to my YouTube and you watch that video of me doing the autocross, you can hear the blow-off valves going, and they sound really good.
Nice. Yeah, that the blow off sound
Justin, can you play that video, the clip of his dyno? Are you able to play that so they can see kind of what it sounds like? Because a lot of
Well,
people are asking questions about the sounds.
let me
Or you
see
want
if I
to see
can.
if he can start it up?
Well, I'm gonna have him start it and then I can play it, but I'm gonna see if I can download it
Okay.
and actually. Oh, I should be able to show this, but guys,
I
we
think
gotta
I
hit.
sent it. I think I sent you a link to it on Instagram.
Yeah, he did too, but well, actually, he sent me a different one than you sent me. This one looks like it's gonna be a lot louder because it's like right behind the car. So, guys, we're pretty close to that 200 mark. We got over 200 people watching in here. If you guys all just hit thumbs up, this would be easy. This would be easy.
6 more people, guys. 6 more people.
Yeah. Let's see. Manny says if this thing makes 750 wheel horsepower and shifts properly at some point, I will strongly consider it.
Awesome. I'll be happy to help you out whenever you're ready.
And this, guys, what this is ultimately going to do, and I hate to be this guy because I'm not normally this guy, but with this particular car, I love the Z06 so much that it's actually like difficult for me to think about possibly ever even getting a ZR1 because of how much I love the Z06. With this kit from Alex, you can kind of have both because you're going to have a Z06 with this twin turbo setup that's basically going to push you into ZR1 territory anyway. So, and honestly, even though, $40,000 is not cheap by any means, that's way less than the ZR1's going to be. So, yeah, this might be the way to
And
do it.
And it might be lighter, Justin. We don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
Like, we
true.
don't know the
That's
weight
true.
of the ZR1 yet. It might be lighter.
Yep.
The way he's got it set up.
Absolutely. All
For the
right,
track guys.
we did hit 200, so let me play the dyno first, and then we're going to hear the real thing in real life from Alex. He'll start it for us. Let me see if I can get this video up here. Okay, that is MP4, so that should be good. All right, so here is the clip of it on the dyno. You guys won't be able to hear it, just so you know, but everybody else will. Oh, listen to those turbos. Wow. Okay. So I know you couldn't hear that, Brandon, but you'll be able to hear it on playback. The turbo sound is ridiculous. That sounds fantastic. So again, about 150 horsepower gain, a little over 100 torque gain, and you're literally safely turbocharging the LT6 engine in the Z06. I literally don't know what else to say. When Brandon brought this to my attention earlier today, I said, no way. I was looking at the Instagram stuff. I was looking at the videos. I was like, man, this thing looks legit. Like, what the heck? What has he figured out? So yeah, the turbo whine or turbo whistle is just incredible. This thing is fantastic, Alex. You're
Did you hear the pops, Justin? Like
oh
the
yeah.
pops on the decel when they
Yeah.
were downshifting? It sounds even more so than naturally aspirated. It sounds crazier.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the way they were downshifting or what, but to me, it sounded the pops and crackles were like times 10.
He does have
Well, the
it is
methanol
stock
helps
cats,
with that.
guys.
Oh, does it? What's the reason for that? Honestly, I don't know. Is it just how does it make the sounds different? Is it just something about the cooling part or?
Um, hello?
Yeah. You still there?
Hello? Yeah, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry, my phone started ringing and if you talking to me. Yeah, so basically it's just because you have methanol that's still left over, and when you get the car in decel, it creates a vacuum, so it's sucking whatever residual methanol
Yeah.
is
And
left.
it's popping.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it
that
makes
makes
for a
perfect
great,
sense.
some nice little flames. It's like
Yep.
it works out great. My customers
Oh,
love it.
that's cool. That is
So
awesome.
Matt Hurley says, Justin, you better twin turbo yours or we aren't friends anymore. So We should talk, Alex. We should talk. I feel like I'm overdue for a trip to Texas anyway. So
And I'm talking to him about nitrous right now. I was debating between the two, but like, I don't know. As far as where I'm at current budgetary wise, I may try the nitrous route. So I think that's where we're headed. But this is amazing that you can do this, Alex. Like what you're able to do with this car,
yeah.
especially be the first one to do it. This is
Yep.
this is game changing.
I appreciate that. It's been a year in the making, all the R&D, and the biggest thing was just getting into the map and being able to adjust the map appropriately. That took us a while to figure out. So it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Steve Robertson asked if that was in track mode. I'm assuming the exhaust modifications you guys are making probably does not have baffles anymore.
Correct. Yeah. So you would have to make a chambered exhaust or a chambered muffler to be able to use the NPP modes or the NPP appropriately. I have tried that on our Stingray, and it with the way that we have the X pipe here, it wouldn't be possible anyways because basically it's like so short. You have a picture of that, but it's like boom right here. That's all the X pipe is, and so you wouldn't be able to really do it with the way the kit's configured.
Yeah, I have. Well, I don't have a picture of the X pipe, but I have some of the actual exhaust set up here.
There you go. Yes, yes.
Do you have just? Is it just two pipes then? There's not the other two on the outside.
Oh, so the outside is our wastegate dumps.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
Yep. That other picture you had pulled up, it has the wastegate dumps on there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, right there. So this is actually funny because this picture was what a lot of people speculated with the ZR1 was that the outside exhaust tips were actually the wastegates. And now
really, I hadn't heard that.
Now we're finding out that that's exactly what you're using them for. I think that's hilarious. Like this could end up being very similar to GM's ZR1 kit. I think that would be amazing for so many reasons. But yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Lewis. I think it might be worth entertaining the idea of offering this same setup with either sport cats or no cats. My big concern with the flat plane crank, of course, is that I love the sound of this thing, and I know turbos are going to muffle it to some degree, even though it didn't sound like it on that dyno. I think if that's something you're even remotely entertaining, I think that might be a good idea too.
Yeah, so we offer high flow cats that are Jesse cats that we use as our core, and then they're really nice because we have provisions for the studs, the factory studs. So we actually add in the threads and everything so they install like factory cats.
Nice. All right, so we hit the 200 thumbs up mark, guys. So Alex, when you you're using your cell phone right now, aren't you?
Yeah.
So this is pretty likely it's going to blow the microphone out if I had to guess, but
I've got special provisions to prevent that from happening.
Nice.
One step ahead of you.
All right, let's do it then.
All right.
Hell yeah. Oh, I'm so excited about this.
Hold on.
I can hear those turbos.
I can too. That's what I'm listening for.
Good God.
Hell yeah, brother. Oh my gosh, Justin.
Just when I thought I was done, man.
Dude, if you're not sold after that, I don't know what's going to sell you.
I was going to say the turbo sound, the added power, the functional warranty. This is the kit, man. This is the kit.
Dude, that is awesome, Alex.
That was very nice.
Man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Honestly,
Oh yeah, the
I would
reverse lights are blinding everybody.
I would want that kit just for the sound of the turbos, even if it didn't produce any extra power. Like that thing sounds
Seriously.
Yeah, no, that's the
fantastic.
thing. Like, it's the whole visceral feel of it. It's like it just adds to the whole experience of driving the car, in my opinion. Like, I know, like, we get wrapped up in the 60 to 130s, the 0 to 60s, the quarter mile times, and yes, that's definitely important. But man, you just want to go enjoy your car. You want to hear some
100%.
whistling noises and the flat plane crank. I mean, you can't get much better than that.
I agree. That I am very impressed, and I'll be honest with you, Alex. Like I said, up until this point, I thought for sure this was not a possibility, not reliably at least. Like anybody can throw a turbo kit on anything, but to do this reliably, to do it the way you have, I mean, just having you on here and talking to you for the hour we've been talking, you obviously know your stuff, which is 90% of the battle right there. So I love it. I love what you've done, and I think the Corvette community is going to love it too.
Yeah, and guys in
Yeah,
the
for
comments,
sure.
I've been messaging him via email. He responds at like 11 p.m. at night. I don't know if you're just up all hours or what, but you're like constantly responsive via email. So
Yeah,
it seems like that's awesome.
that's one thing I really pride myself in. That's one thing we pride ourselves in Pikes Performance Students as a whole. Our whole team is customer service. And I know everybody says that, but you can ask any of my customers; they will tell you. I mean, not that
I went online, Alex. I was looking up your name because, like I said, I hadn't heard of you before. But I went on, and every person on the Corvette forum, which if you guys don't know, the regular Corvette forum, not the mid-engine Corvette forum, but the regular Corvette forum is like a cesspool of horribly angry people, and no one had anything bad to say about Alex. So
No,
that
I've
is a
not seen one thing.
gigantic, glowing review in itself. So yeah, very good.
Yep.
I mean, you've obviously done your work here, and it shows. So awesome. I really appreciate you coming on here tonight with us and spending an hour with no power. I mean, it's probably boiling hot in your location there too. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you for making a kit that no one thought possible. I mean, you're really you're killing it over there.
I appreciate that a lot. Thank you for having me. And I was really excited when I saw your email come through this morning. And so I appreciate that as well. Thanks for all the kind words. And thank you so much. And for giving me this opportunity, give me a platform to talk about the car and talk about the specifics and all the technical details. And this is just very beneficial for me too. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. And we're going to definitely talk in the future because this, like I said to Brandon, I thought I was done with my car. Now
Oh God.
I don't
That's,
know.
yeah.
I want something more that I didn't even know I wanted. So thanks, Brandon. You turned me on to this, and now you're going to cost me a bunch of money. So
I know. I was leaning towards the nitrous route for my budget, but I'm to the point where I'm about to say fuck it. I don't know.
I was
It's
going
just
to
it
say,
sounds.
how about a group buy, Alex? Me, Brandon, and
Oh
David.
God.
We all got twin turbo Z06s.
And we can talk about it. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
definitely in game for working out something with y'all.
I know three
awesome.
guys: DBM Racing, Justin, and myself.
Yep,
There's three right there. And I
yep.
bet Bill on here. I bet Bill's a game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, absolutely. I'm open to whatever. I want to get as many kits on as many cars as possible, and just it's also nice to have more information, more data points, different
100%.
people running in different places. That's
Yeah,
kind of why I do that first adopter discount too, because I want to collect more data. Not that people are guinea pigs by any means, but with anything, like I can only do so much with one car. I'm not a multi-billion-dollar corporation where I can have 5 test cars. So it's a similar strategy to what we adopted with the Stingray. We're using it the same way with the Z06.
awesome. And someone had a question here, and I'm curious if this is true too. Uh, weren't you the first company to come out with a twin turbo kit on a hardtop convertible C8? Is that true?
We were on the hardtop convertible for sure, and we were one of the first on the Stingray in general on the coupe. But yes, we do offer hardtop convertible specific kits. You don't have to modify the intercooler or the car to fit the intercooler, because the intercooler is a different size for the hardtop convertible versus the coupe. So we made it to where you can install the intercooler still without having to drop the engine. Or if you have to, do any type of work to it later on down the road, you don't have to drop the engine. Also, the intercooler reservoir goes in a different spot in the trunk on the hardtop convertible as well. There's a few other things that are different, and so we can do the same thing for the hardtop convertible Z06s as well.
Did your light just die?
That light did die. I have another light.
That's all right.
Um,
We're about to wrap this up anyway. And actually, Alex, I have a question for you. I'm going to ask you off camera, but so when I hit to stop the live here, stay on here. I have a question, a really interesting question for you. But guys, I think we're going to start wrapping this up because we're after our hour here. We got to hear the thing cold start. We have pretty much all the information we need. There's going to be a ton more coming. I'm gonna do more work with Alex here because he's the only one doing this right now, and I think that this is a gigantic, awesome opportunity for people with the Z06. So stay tuned for what's coming. Alex knows his stuff, and you're going to see a lot of him moving forward here. So again, thank you, Alex, for coming on. Brandon, as always, thank you for being on here as well, bringing your knowledgeable questions. Everybody here, yeah. Thanks again, guys, and we will see you again, same time, same place, next Monday night.
Thanks,
See ya.
Justin. Thanks,
awesome.
Alex.
Thank you.